required to give you permission. Great, okay, well, over to you guys.
Great. So for today, this is the agenda of what we want to walk you through, kind of give you an idea of what the training will be and also the topics that we're going to cover. So we're going to touch on writing, editing, and formatting your resume, walk you through what do we expect as recruiters once you apply for a position, what should you include, what should you stop including, and what should you start including. We're also going to walk you through how to leverage LinkedIn to grow a career. It's really a new and emerging social media platform for professionals, and we'd love for all of you to join. So we're going to walk you through why you should have an account and how you should use that account to be your best self. And then we're going to walk you through interview etiquette, how to prepare for interviews, tackling common interview questions. Then we're going to show you a video of a good interview versus a bad interview, just to let you know and see if there are things you've been doing, things you shouldn't be doing, and things you should start doing as you go ahead to interview at the positions that you've applied for. And lastly, we're going to be having the Q&A session. Great, so we'll start with writing and editing and formatting your resume. So this is the sample resume format we expect. We don't expect it to look like this exactly with regards to font and everything, but this is what the ideal candidate resume that we receive will look like. And so our resume should have the following sections. First, personal contact, a profile summary objective, followed by work experience, education, your skills that you bring to the role and the company, as well as additional experience, and should you have any certificates. So now we're going to cover these sections one by one, and if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and we'll answer them at the end with regards to this section. Great, so we'll start with personal contact information. So in this section, as you can see from the screenshot, it's a great place to put your name. Always good to have your formal names, first, second, first, last, or first, middle, last name. Include your phone number. In your phone number, ensure that you put in your country code. So +254 for Kenya, +256 for Uganda. It helps in case someone is trying to reach you from an office that they're not in the same country. Your email. Always ensure that the email you put is a formal one. For example, gladysmugwero@shortlist.net. That would be my formal email that I would put on a resume. If you have emails that you made when you were younger and were thinking very seriously about using them to apply for positions, it's a great opportunity for you to create a professional looking email that you can include on your resume. Then a LinkedIn. We're going to touch on LinkedIn later, but when you put it on your resume, it's always good to have it at the top, hyperlinked to your profile, so that if someone wants to kind of come and get more context on who you are, that's where they can click. For personal website, hyperlink your portfolio, your GitHub profile. If you write articles, hyperlink it to there. It's not necessary, but if you do have one, it's great to include it. Next, we're going to go through profile summary, resume objective, which comes under the personal information section. So in this section, write a brief introduction on who you are, what you've done, and what you hope to achieve in the next role. This section shouldn't be longer than 50 words, but the first sentence is a profile summary highlighting your skills and objectives, and the second sentence is a resume objective for the role. So for example, this would be agile and adaptable recruiter with 4 years of experience, full stop. Not that short, but to give you an idea of the framework. The second sentence would be a summary of my profile that's relevant to the role I am currently applying. Next section. Sorry, someone saying the person speaking is echoing. Can you hear me now? Okay. Great. Can you hear me now? This is the audio quality. Video speaker? Yeah. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, great, perfect. Yeah, so now we're in the work experience section. So in this section, it's where you get a chance to kind of give information on the career experience that you bring to the role. So as you can see here, there's work experience underlined, company, location, role, month year, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. So now this is where you come in reverse chronological order. So this means the most recent to the first experience that you've had. So for example, mine would be Shortlist as the company, Nairobi as the location, role talent consultant, and the month here would be March 2022 to current. So if we go to the next slide, you'll be able to understand what it is we're looking for in this section. So if it's a most recent role, use the continuous tense for your current role and past tense for previously held role. So currently I would say supporting on placement under the MasterCard Foundation and Energy Access Program. Previously, I would say identified and recruited candidates. It helps show what have you had previous responsibilities in and what are your current responsibilities. In the work section, your top 2 to 3 bullet points for each role should quantify your roles and responsibilities by various metrics. So this can be time, revenue, percentages, and success rates. For example, you can say increased sales revenue by 20% within 6 months through the implementation of targeted marketing strategies and customer segmentation analysis, resulting in additional $500,000 in annual sales. So you've told me what you've been able to do, by how much you did it, how long did it take you to do it, what exactly did you do? You implemented targeted marketing strategies. And number 2, you have an understanding of customer segmentation analysis. And then on top of all that, you've been able to quantify what the outcome from this was, which was the $500,000 in annual sales. Next slide. Great. So here we're coming to education. So in this section, it still follows the same format as the work experience. It's the most recent until the first one. So for here, I know people tend to put their primary school, their high school. I would advise, if it's your first job, please, you can put your O-level or A-level and then put your university. But from your first job onward, always remove the primary school or do away with it altogether. So in this section, list all the institutions you've attended as part of your formal education. So this would be O-level, A-level for your first job, diploma, degree, a master's, and so on and so forth, that you've gotten an awarded certificate. So ensure that you name the institution, the year of completion, what degree were you awarded, and the location of the institution. Next slide. Great. This section covers skills. So on skills section, people tend to just put everything as one long list, which increases the length of the resume, which can be a bit hard to read. It's always great to group them by software, skills, languages. If you are a programmer, I would say you put software, programming languages, skills, and languages. And categorizing them helps me know that you understand where your skills come in to the relevance of the role. So in the software, you can highlight the software that you've had experience with and are comfortable using. So this would be Microsoft Office Suite, Google Suite, Canva. This is the best place to list them. For skills, people tend to say things like hardworking. We're looking for skills that are relevant to the role. So for example, negotiation, business development, desk research. Those are the kind of skills we'd love to see in the skills section of things you've actually had professional experience working in, and not more of soft skills. So skills here would be technical skills that aren't necessarily measurable, but they are relevant to the role you're applying for. For languages, list the languages you're in and fluency in them. So this would be English, native, French, conversational, Kiswahili, native. It helps understand what's the level of fluency you have in a language, should that be a metric being considered for a role. Next, additional experience. So I just want to preface this by saying that not everyone should have it, but while you're still in school or early in your career, please be sure to find a way to get additional experience. So in this section, list experiences that are outside of professional settings that you may have had. So this could be volunteer experience. If you volunteered at a church, if you volunteered at a children's home, at a school, it's a great place to list it. Use the same format of institution, location, what you were doing, and the time you were doing it there. School and clubs and associations that you've participated in. So if you are in ISEC, Rotaract, Model of the United Nations, it's a great place to speak about, because a lot of these clubs have what do you call it? They're known well for what they do. So ISEC is known for giving leadership skills and giving you professional experience. It's great to list them so that someone can have an understanding that you've had experience that may not be formal yet, but you've touched a bit of it in your club experience. If you've attended long-term workshops or training programs, this is a great place to list them. Great. And this section is also another one that everyone might not have, but you start building as you go along in your career, or you may already have it from your formal education. So certifications here would be programs that you've undertaken that are relevant to your role and the certificate was handed. So for example, ACCA certification, CPAK, if you're in Kenya, CHRP, this is a great section to list them. If you're a member of a professional association, such as Institute of Engineers of Kenya, Institute of Human Resource Management, ISPAC, this is a really great place to come and list them. If you even have a membership number or level, great place to let someone know what's the level of experience you've had with this kind of work or this kind of training. Great. So now we've covered everything you should include in your resume or things that you must make sure that as you go back and edit your resume after this session, you'll put in. Now let's cover things you shouldn't put. 1, don't include any bio or personal data. What does that mean? Don't include things like your birthday, don't include things like your religion, your marital status. That could be used to screen you out based on personal bias from what someone reads. We're all human, we all have biases, and some people may, not a shortlist though, some people may retain these biases when they're reviewing you, and you may lack out on a job because you're not left a little bit of mystery to who you are and it made the resume a formal one. Number 2, there's always a situation we see of one candidate sending the same resume to 4 different jobs and not being relevant for either of them. Why is this? They didn't optimize their resume. So optimizing your resume is identifying keywords in the job description that you're applying for and bringing those points and making them relevant to the experience you've had. So for example, if I saw a job description that said talent acquisition, I would be able to bring that into my resume because that's what I've done. That's how companies acquire talent throughout the entire recruitment pipeline. But other companies might say, we're looking for a recruiter. I've done that. So instead of saying I've worked in talent acquisition, I would optimize it to say I've worked in recruitment. That's optimizing. It's not cheating. It's just using the relevant keywords to prop up your experience that you've already had. That doesn't mean copy the job description word for word and bring it into your resume so that it looks like you've done everything. We're able to catch it, so make sure you optimize, not copy paste. Next, avoid buzzwords. Buzzwords are generic words that we see all the time in resumes that don't really speak to the quality of the person you are as we get excited and you pick our interest for us to speak with you. So a great example of this is team player, hardworking, confident. You wouldn't be able to know this until we give you the job. So avoid them because you'll be maybe the 30th CV who's regurgitating the same word, but make sure that you don't put these buzzwords and you put things and skills that are relevant to the role you're applying for. This one is of recently, so I wouldn't judge you so harshly if you still have it on your resume. It's not something that would make you lose points, but it's great not to include it. This is a hobby section. So a hobby section has been in the past from what we are taught in high school or early university is kind of speaking on you love rugby, you love cooking. When you start sending professional resumes, those things come up in conversation during the interview, so there's no need to put them in the actual resume. Great. So when you're formatting your resume, once you've created a draft, don't send out your first draft after you've created your resume. It takes time. Don't rush through creating your resume. You want a perfect resume that you can optimize depending on the role you're applying for. So once you create the first draft, be on the lookout for overused or generic buzzwords. Have you say, I did many times, or saying I engaged, I ensured, I took part in. So remove the overuse of the generic buzzwords and refer to the Harvard Resume Guide PDF. So when you go on Google and search Harvard Resume Guide, the first link, it's a PDF. And the PDF will give you words you can use in place of other words to help guide you as you write your resume. Once you write and proofread the resume you've done, removed all the buzzwords, it's time to format it. So the ideal font is Times New Roman or Arial. Font size 12 if you have less than a page or a page and a half of content, but if you have a page and a half to 2 pages, use font size 10, 10.5, or 11. Spacing should be single line if you have a lot of content, or 1.5 if the resume is short. For resume length, don't make your resume too long. We understand that you're just starting your career. So 1 page, 1 page and a half is okay. As you grow, ensure your resume doesn't pass 2 pages. Also read job descriptions if they've given you the guideline on what your resume length should be. Yeah, next slide. Great. So Shivani is going to take you through how to set up your LinkedIn profile.
Cool. Can everyone hear me? Okay, besides Echo, I think everyone can hear me. If not, just type in the chat if it isn't super clear. But yeah, the next section will be how to set up your LinkedIn profile. So we know that LinkedIn, as Gladys mentioned, is a work social media that can really help you with growing your knowledge, growing your career, and like building your network. Your network is your net worth, and especially when you're entering the workforce, it is very important to build your knowledge and to connect with like-minded people. So yeah, as I mentioned, LinkedIn is a powerful tool, and there are several reasons. Learning more about various industries and connecting with like-minded people at a professional level. So you may be interested in finance, but interested in climate as well. And so this is a good place to learn about things that are happening in the financial sector, as well as things that are happening in the climate sector. Sharing your thoughts about particular subjects. So you may have thoughts on a particular topic that you're very interested in and want to share it, aside from sharing it with your friends. And so LinkedIn is a good place to do that. If you are actively searching for jobs, LinkedIn Jobs is actually a very useful tool. Like I know us at Shortlist, whenever we post jobs, we also post them on LinkedIn. And so do companies, all the companies across the globe do the same thing. And so it's a good way for you to find jobs on the page, and then you can filter the criteria of what type of jobs you're looking at, what the skills match, and like your LinkedIn profile could act as an initial CV that could help you be referred to relevant jobs because of their what is it? Yeah, just because of the way their algorithm works. And then LinkedIn Learning is also a very useful tool to upskill yourself. So I don't know how many of you actually use LinkedIn Learning, but for example, I used LinkedIn Learning last year. Actually, I continue to use it, and they're free resources, some of them through LinkedIn Learning. I used the LinkedIn Learning course for Excel just because, I mean, I'm good at Excel, but I just wanted to re-memorize and like re-understand the formulas that I could be relevant to the work that I'm doing, especially when it comes to data analysis. And so LinkedIn Learning helped me. It was a 2-hour course, and it was super useful at the end of it. It works a little bit like Udemy. I don't know if you guys have used Udemy before, but the courses are pretty similar in terms of how they work and the gamification. So the very first important thing when setting up your LinkedIn profile is, and if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, I suggest that you set up one. And if you do have a LinkedIn profile, I suggest that you personalize your profile as much as possible. And so, for example, the first important thing is to have a photo that is professional looking. Like, please don't have a selfie or a photo of like you with many people. Like, have a headshot. You don't need to take it professionally. You can take it on your phone, but make sure it's a clear headshot of you looking, looking good, but like also professional. And then the banner at the top, it's up to you. Like some companies may have like a requirement for you to use their company logo, like their company logo. Some companies wouldn't mind. And so make sure the banner at the top is something that is also like professional. It could be creative. I think before I joined Shortlist, I had like a picture of New York City because I liked the skyline, but it didn't look bad on my LinkedIn profile. So yeah, just make sure that like aspect of the banner looks great too. In terms of like when you are having your name, underneath your name, make sure you have the role that you're currently in. And if you're a student, you can also say student at X university. And then you can be like, you'll see mine says connecting talent to opportunities across Africa. You can put like a line, and you can say like you can add your interests. So whatever your interest is, whether it's engineering, whether it's finance, whether it's banking, you can add those in your initial headline. Then you'll see mine where I have open to jobs, and this is just a display where you can be like, I am open to jobs. And so recruiters, when they're looking for roles, they use LinkedIn quite often. And so they'll be able to know, this person is looking for a job. And if your profile is interesting, it'll be an easy way for them to connect with you. In terms of your bio, so your bio is very important in LinkedIn because it gives individuals an overview of who you are. So unlike your resume, where you shouldn't like include personal details, your LinkedIn bio can more or less be a good overview of yourself. So you can have like the first two paragraphs with a professional, like talk about the current work that you're doing and then what you've done in the past or like where you studied. But you can also have a line, and you'll see I have a line on my LinkedIn profiles where I enjoy traveling and experiencing different cultures and cuisines, because that's something that I'm interested in. And it's something that people can relate to. So like, as much as you're trying to build your network, people will like to work with you in future or have you part of their company if they can relate to you. And so that is a good way of adding. And like whenever even you're applying for a job and like people want to like see who you are, they will check your LinkedIn. Like besides checking your CV, we do check the LinkedIns. Moving on to the experience, keep updating your experience. So you'll see like I am currently partnerships lead at Shortlist Futures, but if you go into my profile, you'll be able to see that I worked at BFA Global in the past and I had like 3 different like roles that I participated in. And so I just kept updating my LinkedIn despite me working in the same company for 5 years, because it just shows progress. It shows the different types of roles that I do. And also it keeps updated like the position I'm in. So then when people are trying to connect with you on like synergies or in partnerships, it's a good way for them to know what you have done and where you're working. Moving on to your contact information. So this is super important. Like for your URL, LinkedIn auto generates URLs, but please ensure that you like edit it and like customize your URL. It's just a good, nice to have. And then you can add your email for LinkedIn, your personal email, or whatever email that you want to use. So then the next thing would be what and when to post. So you can share all types of content on LinkedIn. By all types of content, I mean all types of professional content. So you can you can have new insights or things that are happening in a particular sector, and you can add your thoughts and opinions to this matter. So for example, you saw a cool article about AI and you're like, hey, this is a cool, like I read this cool article and I want to summarize it and post it on LinkedIn. Like that is a good thing to post. Then, for example, if you attended a work event or I don't know, any kind of event that is like work oriented. So you attend a Women's Day event or you attended like a climate session, like talk about, Sabrina, I see your hand raised, but if you add your comments in the chat, we'll be able to get to them later. But if you attended a work event, like share about it, like share photos, share what you found interesting, what were your key insights, like make it as personal as possible, but like also share why you were excited about this particular topic. It like gathers engagement, but it also showcases people within your network that this is what you're interested in and like could have like flow like opportunities your way. If you see posts that you find interesting, comment and reshare them. Like if you find them interesting, why not? And lastly, be an active user. So I use LinkedIn maybe like twice a day. Like I'm always scrolling. I use it like similar to like when I'm on Instagram or TikTok. So I leverage, like there is time of the day that I assign to LinkedIn for work related purposes. And so LinkedIn is like every other social media. And so there are times when you drive higher engagement and times when you don't have very high engagement. So there is someone that I know that is very like popular on LinkedIn, and they were telling me that if you use like, it's like social media. So if you post Tuesday to Thursday, you get higher engagement. I'm not particularly sure this is true, but you can try. The time of the day doesn't matter, but Tuesday to Thursday is when people are more active on LinkedIn. For example, I don't think people are active on LinkedIn on like Easter or on Christmas Day. So maybe don't post on those days, but you can post on like the first week of January where people will be back at work and like more excited about what they have missed and what's going on. Cool. So that is it about LinkedIn. But before I move to the next session, I really urge everyone to like relook at their LinkedIn pages and like customize it, like build it to be as useful as possible. It's a very useful tool in my personal opinion, and from what I've heard from other people within the professional space. And so it is something that you should leverage to help you in your early careers. And one thing I want to add before I go on is that it don't matter like if you don't have so much experience or you don't think you're an expert in this topic, like pose it as a question on LinkedIn. People will interact with your post. Like you don't have to know everything, but just sharing what your thoughts are and like creating conversation is a very important thing. So the next topic we will move to is interview etiquette preparation, tackling common interview questions. So aside from you participating in the Scholar program, sharing your CVs, and you'll also be going through interviews soon if your CVs are like vetted and like passed forward. This would be good tactics for you. But if you are job searching, like pay attention to these like common interview tips and tricks. We at Shortlist have been recruiters and been working with young people for over 7 years, and so have learned a few things here and there, which we think would be very useful for you. So interviewing and interview etiquette. So interview etiquette is something that is very, very important and something that you really, really need to pay attention to. So for example, respond promptly. So when you receive an interview invite, it is important that you respond. Like, do not respond rudely, do not respond like curtly, like show that you're interested in the position, be respectful, and like be respectful of the interviewer's time. So if they give you like a time slot, like try first be flexible with that. If that, hopefully that time slot works with you. If it doesn't, you can reach out and let them know, but like show interest and be like respond to that like initial interview email. Then express your interest. So in your response, make sure you express your interest to the position. Thank them for the opportunity and let them know that you look forward to learning more about the job and the role. Make sure in that email that you confirm the details. So once you've accepted the interview, like confirm the details when you're sending out the email, but also make sure you confirm the details personally. So if you see that the interview is at like 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, please add that as a reminder on your phone and on your calendar. Do not be late and do not forget that you have an interview. It is very important that you do not do that. Before the interview, take some time to do your research about the position, about the company. This will help you when answering the questions that they will ask you, but also to build conversation. So like, when people are being interviewed, they, at the end of the day, like, yes, they want to test your skills and like your brain, like they want to test whether you know your content, but the end of like, besides that, they want to know whether you are a person that can fit their company culture. Is it someone that they can get along with, someone that they can coach, someone that has adaptability and like a go-getter? Like they're testing all of these things. And so like do your research and like understand the company and like be curious. So when you're going into the interview, you have like questions at hand and show like why you're interested in the position. And thirdly, dress formally. First impressions matter. And so make sure you dress professionally to the interview. It doesn't mean you have to wear like a full suit, but make sure you look good, you look decent, you look clean in proper attire. So when you're attending the interview, it makes at least a good first impression. So when now you have like you are going for this interview, make sure you arrive on time. If not on time, actually early. I would suggest you arrive early. Please do not be late. And if you are late, please let them know in advance. So if there is something happening or something that for some reason you can't make the interview, make sure you let the interviewer know rather than being late. When you are in the interview, be professional and polite. It is good for you to be polite to everyone that you interact with for the stage of the interview. So if you're coming for an in-person interview, whether it's a receptionist, whether it's other team members, whether it's other, and the interviewer themselves, and make sure you, when I say be respectful, say please, say thank you, and be polite. Be prepared when coming into the session. So as I mentioned, do your research on the company before you're interviewing. Be prepared about the questions about your skills and your experience, and we'll get into that and why you're interested in the job, but also bring a copy of your resume and any other relevant materials that you think would be useful to share. So for example, when I've interviewed people, especially like tech people, some of them actually come with their laptops, and I'm not saying you should do this, but like they come with their laptops, and I was like, hey, what have you built? And they'll be like, I built this app, like, do you want to see it? And like they show me like a live demo, because I think, in my personal opinion, that has proven for them to be successful, because they're like enthusiastic and very passionate about like the work and their like niche. And so that shows that they would be passionate about the work they do at the company. And then that comes to like being enthusiastic. Like when you're coming for an interview, like don't be monotone, don't be like shy, don't like show your best self. Like you are selling yourself at this point. So be positive, be upbeat, make eye contact. And obviously we all have $1 million smiles. So let us use those smiles during our interviews. After we've had the interview, make sure you follow up with the interviewer, by saying that thank you for your time and like it was great to meet you, and like reiterate why you are interested in that job. So I know most interviews, or some of the interviews these days, don't have to be in person. They can be virtual just because of the way the world is right now. And so when you're doing a virtual interview, there is etiquette around this. So for example, confirm that the software that you're using for the call is working. So test this in advance. Like, for example, before I started this webinar, I tested whether my Zoom webinar as well as my YouTube live was working 30 minutes before, because obviously I had never used it. So make sure you do this, like take a couple of minutes before the interview starts to test whether your Google Meet, Teams, Zoom is working, your audio is working, your camera is working, your microphone is working, so that you don't have like any technology hiccups. When you're sitting in a Zoom call, like make sure like how you see my light is bright and the wall is like the background is clear. It like make sure it's not like a dark curtain in a dark room. Like people want to see you, people want to engage with like a non-hazy video. Make sure you have a backup power source and backup internet connection just in case it drops and it hangs, and dress formally. So please wear a shirt at least so that it looks formal from the waist up, because obviously when you're in a in Zoom interview, you need to also dress professional. Doesn't mean if it's online, it gives you the opportunity to like dress in your daily like homeware. Cool, yeah, and so I guess this is just continuing about virtual video etiquette. I already talked about the first point about checking your background, but ensure that you're in a quiet environment. Please, if you have to take the call outside your house, that is totally fine, like that's no problem. But when if you're taking it from a coffee shop or you're taking it from like a cyber cafe, make sure you have earphones just so that like you can like reduce the noise background. And Zoom and Google Meets all have a feature where like you can reduce background noise. So just select that. Like, as I mentioned, like if you join like a couple minutes before, you'll be able to select that. And join 5 or 10 minutes before. Doesn't matter if you're waiting in the waiting room, like, or if the interviewer is late, at least you are on time, and that shows good etiquette. Cool, so how can we answer interview questions? So I'm going to talk about the STAR method, which is a popular technique that can help you answer questions about your skills and experience and why you're interested in the job. So the STAR stands for situation, task, action, and results. So when you enter an interview, you will always be asked about a situation or a context or an event, because they want to assess like whether you faced a problem, what projects you've worked on, how did you deal with it. So talk about a problem that you encountered, whether it's at your previous role, whether it's at university, whether it's like conducting your research, a problem that you faced there. Talk about the project that you worked on. So I would start by like, this is a project that I worked on. These are the problems that I faced, and this is how I was able to deal with it. So it shows that this is some of the relevant work that you've done. These are problems that you face, so that they understand that everyone knows everything is not smooth sailing. But then it shows when you provide like a solution, that you're solution oriented and that you're able to overcome challenges. So the task, like and then from there, what was your task? Like what was your role in the situation? What were you responsible for? Then the action, like what steps did you take to address the situation, and what did you solve the problem or complete the project with? And the result, like what was the outcome for your actions? So I can give an example of this STAR technique. So I ran a program called Teka, which is a venture launcher. So my situation or my project was to find 30 individuals who wanted to become entrepreneurs and start blue economy companies. So by that, the problem that I faced is that one, it's generally challenging to find individuals who want to become entrepreneurs. Just like, it's not difficult, but it is an interesting area to be, because some people always are thinking about jobs and like trying to be like, hey, do you want to be an entrepreneur? It's something that is interesting. And then also finding individuals across Africa, because I was based in Kenya, and like finding people from West Africa or South Africa was also a challenge for me. So what I did was I had to like network, I had to find relevant partners, I had to leverage people within and outside my company to find it. So that is my situation. What was my task? I was the project manager, so I was responsible for the day-to-day operations as well as the talent lead. So I was responsible for finding these individuals. What was the actions? What steps did I take? So the initial steps was I made an initial like game plan or overview, like a KPI list, if that's a key project invention. No, I say OKR, so objective and key results. I don't know what KPI stand for, sorry. So I had my OKR, so like I needed to find like 30 individuals. Okay, so work backwards. I was like, I need to network with the youths, like the youth networks. I need to network with like universities. I need to network with entrepreneurship programs. And so I found these individuals, I made partnerships with them. I shared what my program was. I attended events. And so from there, I was able to find my pipeline. So then my next problem was like, how can I drive this pipeline and like convince them that this is a program they wanted to be part of? So I hosted several online and in-person webinars and events so that I could talk to them about the program. And then from there, it was getting volume. So to see if I can get like 300, 400 applications, so then they can go through my process, and then I can finally narrow it down to 30 individuals. And the outcome was that we found 30 high potential men and women across the eastern borders of Africa to launch blue economy companies. And so that is a good way to explain the situation, task, action, and result, and make sure it's as clear as possible so people are able to track when the employer is speaking to you, they don't get confused along the way. So answering interview questions. So popular interview questions would be, please tell me about yourself. So over here, it is sort of talking about what is on your CV. So an introduction, your name, your current position, your educational background, talk about your professional experience and some of the key skills that you have. So whether it be project management, whether it be data analysis, whether it be software engineering. And then talk about your passion and motivation about the specific industry and field and why you're interested about the specific role in the company. Talk about your personal qualities. So mention that you're a teamwork, like you're a team player, you are good at solving problems, adaptability, and they'll ask you to prove it. So make sure you like think about this prior, and then talk about your career roles, like where do you want to go in the long term, and like how can you demonstrate, like how will this position fit into that, and like demonstrate your commitment to professional growth and development. The next one would be, what are your strengths and weaknesses? So this actually is a very important thing. So it is always so good to highlight your strengths. Like you need to be your own champion, and so highlight your strengths, and like, but make sure you're able to back up the strengths that you're going to highlight, and like choose the strengths that align with the company's values or visions or the requirement of the role. But it's also on the flip side good to highlight your weaknesses. So like identify a few weaknesses that you currently have, but show how you are working on them, and ensure that these weaknesses that you mentioned are not essential for the job that you're applying to. And if they are, just say, like, make sure you're able to say that I'm currently working on how to overcome these challenges, so you're able to show that you're self-aware and committed to improvement. Like no one wants to hire someone that they think knows it all. They always want someone that is willing to adapt, to like take responsibilities of their weaknesses, and like show that they're able to overcome these challenges. In addition to that, highlight training, courses, and experiences you've pursued to address them, and demonstrate that you view weaknesses as an opportunity to develop and learn. So, yeah. The third one would be, what is your salary expectation? This is a very important question. So approach the salary expectation with confidence and professionalism, but I guess strike a balance between being realistic about your worth and remain flexible to engage in a constructive negotiative process. So to go about this is conduct some industry research, like what is the average salary for a position that you are looking at? Consider factors like qualifications, responsibilities of the role, and then offer a salary range based on your research, ensuring it aligns with like industry standards. And then the range should be broad enough to enable negotiation. So you can get but specific enough to provide a reasonable expectation. And then mention that you are open to considering the overall compensation package, which includes benefits, bonuses, opportunities to grow and develop. And then it's no harm in asking them if they have a salary range or budget. So obviously, when you're starting a new job, yes, it is there to help you grow career-wise, but also there are financial requirements. And so make sure you take that into consideration. But like at the end of the day, be flexible. Like, don't take something that you're totally not okay with, but if there is room for negotiation, or there are additional perks as well as a salary, and you're willing to consider, then I think consider it with an open mind. The fourth one is, what is your motivation to work with company X? So this question helps the company understand why the candidate is interested in being part of their company. And so it just shows you've taken the time to understand their company, their missions, their goals, and what from their research makes the candidate want to work at this company. So be specific and be enthusiastic. So don't just say you're motivated to work for the company because it's a good company. Instead, talk about like specific things about the company that draws you to it. So for example, I was very interested to work with Shortlist because I love the fact that they are working with youth employment, especially in Sub-Saharan Africa. It's something that I've been particularly interested in. And so when I was approaching my interview, it was something that I mentioned. So like talk to their missions, to their products, and even talk about the team. Like maybe you're like very like interested, or like you think that the company's like CEO is someone as like a mentor, and like that is someone that you really want to work with, or like the team that you want to work with is someone that you can like grow with. So talk about like personal things that you researched about the company that excite you. And when talking about it, don't talk about it like it's the worst thing ever. Like talk about it with enthusiasm, like show that the person that you are eager to be part of their company. And number 5 is popular, is like, do you have any questions? This comes up like at the end, the interviewer will ask you, do you have any question for me? Kindly do not just say no. Make sure you, at the end of the interview, take that opportunity to ask them questions, like learn more about the company, learn more about the company culture. So some of the questions you can ask is like, what are the biggest challenges facing the company right now? What are the opportunities of growth within the company? What is the company culture like? What are the next steps of this interview process? So in a sense, like while they are interviewing you, you are also trying to understand whether this company is a right fit for you. And like, yes, I know when we're entering our career and we get that like first job, and like that makes sense. Like if this is your only interview and like you want to showcase your best self, like that's fine. But it's also good for you to assess whether this company is something that you want to like somewhere you want to work for, because again, these are a lot of hours of your day committed. And so it's a good way to understand how the company culture is and what the company's missions, visions are, and whether they align with you. So now we will showcase 2 mock interviews that myself and my wonderful colleague Gladys did. I hope you enjoy our acting skills. I hope you like, comment, and share on the chat around that. But I will play these videos for you. I hope you can hear them. Otherwise, we'll be playing them from Gladys's laptop. But yeah. Can you hear? Welcome, Claudia, and thank you for interviewing with us today for the project manager position. Can you start by telling me a little bit about your experience leading projects?
Project manager, which company was this again? Is it the project associate for? It's project manager.
Yes, so this is a project manager role at Shortlist, and this requires us to manage complex projects and tight deadlines. Do you think that is something that you're interested in and have experience with?
I think I remember applying for that one. Anyway, let me just start. So I have good leadership and communication and organizational abilities. I think I'm hardworking. I think people can say that. I don't know, maybe you'll ask them. And I can learn quickly. Yeah.
Great, okay. And could you tell me about a time you managed a complex project?
No, I don't know. I don't know if complex can be measured, really, but I guess, I don't know, that's such a large question. I'm trying to think of a complex project. Can we skip, then I'll come back to it?
Okay, and how about some of the softwares or tools are you comfortable with that are related to project management?
I don't know, I kind of freestyle it, but I know the obvious ones, like, Microsoft Office, Google Suite. The rest I'll learn. If I don't know, I'll learn. Though I've just been freestyling the softwares I use.
I see, okay. And how about project management is all about teamwork? And sometimes when there's a lot of individuals in a team, it can lead to some conflicts. How would you handle conflicts among team members?
That's a tough one. Me, I don't like conflict. I try to avoid it. So if it means I have to work by myself, so I don't really have to interact with people and those conflict things. Yeah, I would say that's kind of my thing about I avoid conflict by not working with other people. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
Great. Okay. I think I have everything that I need. Do you have
everything?
Yeah, I think I asked you the basic questions that I wanted to get everything out of this interview. But yeah, maybe I can open the floor to you. Do you have any questions for me?
No, no questions. I don't think is there. No, nothing.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for taking the time, Claudia, to have this interview and conversation with me. It was lovely speaking to you, and I will be in touch soon about your progress.
Sasa, great. Thanks.
Thank you. Hi, Samantha. Thank you for taking the time to interview with me today for the project manager position at Shortlist. It's great to have you here. Maybe we can start with a few questions. Can you start by telling me about your experience leading projects?
Absolutely. In my previous role as a senior project associate, I successfully managed multiple complex software implementation projects from initiation to completion. So this involved defining project scopes, assembling cross-functional teams, managing schedules and budgets, mitigating risks, and also ensuring that the deliverables met the client requirements as well as the set deadlines.
That's amazing. Sounds like you have some good experience under your belt. Could you give me a specific example of how you overcame a major project challenge?
Sure. I once had a project that had a really aggressive timeline and we fell behind schedule due to some anticipated issues with a key vendor. So I quickly reevaluated the priorities, reallocated resources, and worked closely with the client to reset the expectations. So through diligent tracking as well as team coordination, we made up for the lost time and finished within an acceptable revised timeline.
Great. Well, it shows that you have some good problem-solving skills, and that is something that we always look for in a project manager. What are your thoughts on effectively communicating with project stakeholders?
That's a great question. So for me, firstly, clear and consistent communication is crucial for project success. And I'm a really strong believer in transparency throughout the process, keeping all stakeholders informed of progress, potential blockers, changes in scope, and any other bottlenecks that may come through. So I use various communication methods tailored for different audiences to ensure that the communication is clear and addresses everything that we're trying to communicate and help with the process creation.
Great. Well, thank you. This was great. You shared some interesting projects that you worked in and some great skills that you built over time to be able to be a great project manager. I guess as we wrap up this interview, I am curious to know if you have any questions for me, or is there anything you'd like to know about the company?
Great. I guess at this stage, I'd just like to understand what are the next steps of the recruitment process.
Great. Yeah. So this is more like a first round interview. The interview process is a two-step process where you'll have an interview with myself. If you pass this interview, then there will be another round interview with your direct line manager who will be working with you as a project manager. And then from there, if you pass that interview, then it will be at the offer stage. So I will be in touch likely in a couple of days' time. We are still currently assessing other candidates. And from there, we will be sharing next steps.
Great. I look forward to a positive outcome and hearing from you soon.
Great. Thank you so much, Samantha.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Great. And then that is it for our session today. For those people that asked in the chat and in the questions if this is a real interview, Gladys can confirm that this is a real thing. Like, she wasn't joking when she interviewed these people. That sometimes they do show up. Apparently she told me it's worse. I didn't believe her, but she did tell me it's worse. Yeah, so but now we can open the floor to questions. Either raise your hand or we can actually start with the Q&A chat. So the first one, I see the first one in the easiest is, can we get a resume template? We can put together something and share that with you if we don't already have one. So we'll be sharing that with the recording and all the content from this session today. For the skills section, if you are now learning the skills, do you include that, or since I would not necessarily have the expertise yet? I think you can include it in your session. So for example, and the easiest one I can think about is if you're pursuing like ACCR, like the accreditation, or like a CFA, just you can say pursuing level 1 CFA in May. Like, I don't think why you shouldn't exclude it. Okay. The next ones are about the training for East Africa, West Africa applicants. And so the Scholar program is across Africa. They are just different partners that are placing individuals from different countries. So Shortlist is responsible for East Africa and remote positions. And then there are individuals like Kinaya Ventures, Jobberman, like NFT Console. They're all individual players that are working with the foundation to support with the associate program. So for example, if you're Ghana and apply for a position in Ghana, they will be a partner that will be reviewing your CV. And if you pass that review, they will be reaching out. I hope that answers your question. You got an email to apply for ACCN. Yeah, so I can give a quick overview and actually encourage everyone to join what ACCN stands for. So ACCN is basically the Africa Climate Careers Network. And at Shortlist, we're creating this community where we want to bring like-minded individuals across Africa to join this space where they can like transition into climate jobs. And the reason we say climate jobs is that Africa is a country that is the most affected by climate change, despite contributing minimally to greenhouse gas emissions. But it's also at the forefront for the change. Like there's a lot of development coming within this sector or this lens specifically. And so ACCN is a platform that brings together individuals to learn more about climate, to learn more about career building, a place where individuals can connect with one another, and finally also see which jobs are available within this space. And when I say climate jobs, I don't mean like you have to be like an engineer or a solar technician. Like there are jobs available for finance, for HR, for sales. It's just within the climate space. So yes, I definitely suggest you apply for it. And if you haven't received the link yet, I can like paste it in the chat, or my colleague can paste it in the chat. I'll paste it in the chat. Is it advisable? So one of the questions is it advisable to always include the referee section on the resume?
That's a good question. I am going to say 50-50. So you always have to consider the privacy of the details of your references. So for example, if you have someone who's a senior manager somewhere, you might have someone read their resume, pick their number and call them for an opportunity and skip over talking to you and use their information in a bad way. Number two, it's always good to use your references as a measure of where you're at in the interview stage. What does this mean? This means if, for example, you've done the first, second, third interview, and they want to speak to your references, it's a good sign that they're really keen on onboarding you to the organization. So I'm a proponent of not putting it, but if you do feel like you want to continue putting it, that's okay. That's kind of a personal choice. Just ensure that your references are okay with their personal details being out there.
Great. I see another question about, yes, we will be sharing the recording after this session, so you will be able to access it. And we will also share like our deck, so that like the presentation will be on Localized as well, where you sign up for the event, so you'll be able to access this. So yeah, the question about will we review our resumes for the associate positions, or will we be using what we uploaded during our applications? So it's yes, we actually are reviewing what you uploaded for the application process on Baobab. We have got your CVs, we're currently reviewing them, and then we will be sharing candidates that we think fit the role with the companies who will then be reaching out. When is the placement of the graduate trainee program? It will be happening. So we're currently in the process of reviewing CVs. So ideally by mid-May, you'll be starting to hear from them. Are scholars from West Africa to stop attending the sessions in future? I don't think so. You can attend these sessions. I don't see why not attend the sessions. You can attend these as well as the sessions being held by other partners. It may be an overlap of content, but it's also super useful. So I don't see why you should stop attending. You can choose which ones you want to attend. Yeah, does anyone else have any questions? I think I might have answered all the questions, but we will be sharing the recording. And then the question is, there are normally a lot of templates for CV and cover letters, mostly the modern types of programs and colors. So at what instance should I be applying with modern CVs and cover letters?
Sorry. That's a good question. I would say modern CVs, you see the problem with kind of putting too much art on your CVs and everything is you don't know what reader they're using to kind of pass your resume to pick out the keywords to see if you're a great candidate. So I would say just choose the standard resume. The template we'll share with you will be a great starting point. There's not really a difference between modern and the normal CV. Just kind of have one that is purely words, black and white. Unless you're in an artistic field, which I would still discourage, let the artistic side of you come out through the portfolio that you'll hyperlink into the profile.
I just shared the link for Africa Careers Climate Network. If you can look at that link and if you can sign up and you can be onboarded. The onboarding is very simple, like just join the network and then from there you get access. The point of the network is for us to share content about climate and share content about employment. There are sessions that we'll go through. So every month we have this like Kickstart Climate where we talk about the very basic overview of what is happening with climate in Africa. Other than that, we'll be sharing more content very soon. There is a content like we share articles, we share new updates that are happening within the space, but then also there's a job board so you can see what opportunities are available. In terms of will the finishing school program end before the job placement? Yes, it will. And what is the vetting process and timeline? So as I mentioned, we're reviewing the CVs. If we like your CVs, we'll invite you to answer a couple of questions on our platform. And then from there, we will be sharing the candidates to the employers who will then interview you and make final decisions. So we are just facilitators of reviewing candidates. And the finishing school at the end of the day it's this session mainly. It's like how to build your resume, how to interview well, how to be ready for the workplace. There will be a series of other sessions that we will be hosting. And by that, I mean, like, we'll be talking about communication, time management, like how to like problem solving and critical thinking. Like there are series of sessions, but the sessions will run over the 12 months and they will be starting in May. In terms of time is lapsed, so yes, if we're reviewing your current CVs and then from the ones that you uploaded in Baobab, but so I think from there we'll be able to see whether your CVs are relevant, and then from there we will be if we like your CVs for particular roles. So I think we're over like each team has a couple hundred of roles, and so from there we will review the CVs. Once we like them, we will invite you to fill out chatbot questions, at least from the shortlist end. So you can upload your CVs there on the platform if you get sent the link. I think I've answered all the questions, unless I'm missing anything. But if someone else, I can see some in the Q&A section. Oh, we actually haven't reviewed all. So I see someone, Arthur, I think, yes. We haven't reviewed all the CVs. We're in the process of reviewing the CVs. We just invited everyone that had applied for the roles that we are placing. And yes, Jobberman will be contacting, I'm not sure which region Jobberman is working for. I believe it would be Nigeria, but I will double confirm. Some online advice recommended, this is a question for you. Some online advice recommended that we have the skills section before the work experience on the resume format rather than the education section. Could we speak more to that?
I think the first section should always be your experience, because they want to see if your professional experience ties into the role, especially nowadays where you have people who studied finance or computer science going into HR. Let them have professional work experience context, so then they can go down and read on education, because they still have to check education. So let them pass through your professional experience, your education, then your skills and certificates, because I might see education, finance, and it's a HR role, and then I start having question marks. So I'm going into your professional experience with question marks, but have your demonstrated experience first, education, then skills.
Great, the next question is, how do we get connected to our mentors? Is that after, yes, to your mentors, or you mean to the companies that you'll be placed at? Yes, it is after the CVs have been reviewed. In terms of the follow-up of your application after interviews, the turnaround should be very, let me just say this, like for the placements that we're working on, the ideal goal is end of May. But it is subject to change, obviously, depending on employers and various other factors, but the goal is end of May, we should be starting placements. What is wrong with having more than a 2-page CV?
You don't want to exhaust the recruiter. Keep it brief and leave room for things you'd use to extend that resume to discuss in interviews. Because when it's already very long, it feels like you're overcompensating or not being really truthful with what you're saying. Keep it brief, direct, and give it enough detail that I can understand the experience that you've had without having to make me, the hiring manager, or companies read so many pages to kind of pick out what we're looking for in the candidate.
The other question is, what is your take of photos on a CV?
Do not put photos. One, because as you share them in a PDF or doc, they may not upload the way you formatted it. Number two, it doesn't really remove or add into whether I'm going to screen you for a candidate. If you want me to see how you look like, if you want to see your pretty face, hyperlink your LinkedIn profile, which we always check as we're looking at candidate resumes.
The other question, which is interesting, is on work experience section. Let's say one has ever worked for the government before and most of the roles are already predefined. How can you best optimize them as showcasing your achievements? Mostly all of the roles are monotonous.
Every job description kind of lists the basis of what's expected this person to do. So what did you do for each bullet point that can be quantified? If, for example, you worked as a clerk, how many assignments are you handling averagely on a week? If you interned at the IT office, how many customers did you interact with? What softwares did you help improve? What process did you take part in? Just because the job description is fixed doesn't mean that your contribution to the role is. So always quantify it by the metrics we mentioned earlier in our slide.
Great. Does anyone have any more questions about this session that we shared? There's one about what about the CV written in French and in terms of translation?
If your CV is in French and you're applying for a French role, a country that's working in a French role, or the job description was in French, that's great. If you're translating, be careful about the translation that you're trying to, try to be sure about what you're communicating. So if you're using Google Translate, put that sentence in another online translator and see if, as you're reading it and you're translating, it brings you back to the same point you were trying to bring in your French way. So double translation is what I mean. So from your French point to Google Translate to another free or paid for online translator, and then bring that second sentence back to Google Translate to see if it gives you the same sentence in French to ensure that your point is carried no matter what language you're sharing your resume in.
Cool. There's a question about what Shortlist does, where we're located, and what we work on. So Shortlist, as I mentioned, is a talent and impact advisory firm where we support with job creations from a senior to junior level. We have two business work streams, which is Shortlist Search, which is basically placing or looking for individuals at a executive / C-suite level. And then we have Shortlist Futures, which is looking to support youth and mid-level management careers. So individuals from 18 to 35 with 0 to 5 years of experience. Through this area, we've been working, we've had Shortlist Futures for a while. We're sector agnostic, but have a heavy focus, as I mentioned, on climate and digital jobs. So we work with a series of donors to create job opportunities for junior and mid-level individuals. So we have ran, for example, 2 clean energy programs over the last 6 years, placed over maybe 6,000 jobs interacted with even more, curated a database of 200,000 individuals, and currently keep doing so. We're working with Mastercard Foundation with the Scholar Program. We're working with the Challenge Fund for Youth Employment in terms of creating more digital jobs in Kenya. So we work through a series of programs with the overall goal of creating youth employment. There is a question over here is where I've worked in banking roles like a teller, but I want to change my career path to project management because I have a degree in project management. How can I optimize my CV?
That's a good question. Pivoting a career is really, it can be daunting, but it's always good to highlight on your resume. So the best place to highlight this would be your profile summary or resume objective. That would be the best section. So you can just say, mention one sentence. You can just say, so since I've been a bank teller, you can say I have 4 years of professional experience tackling this, and that. That's relevant to the role. And then I would then come in as a recruiter and be like, oh, so you've had this experience and you mentioned you've had 3 years of it. I can tell it's a bit transferable. So as you pivot, it can be daunting, but find ways to present the skills that are transferable from where you are currently at and where you hope to go. And all the best as you transition into a new career path.
Thanks. Oh, in terms of your CVs, what I could suggest, and Gladys, if you can put the link to Shortlist Talent Gallery of how they can create a profile, that would be great. You can create your profile and then we can get your uploaded CVs over there if you haven't already created a profile. I hope that answers your questions around that. Does anyone else have any other questions? Sorry, there are a lot of questions in the chat, so I'm trying to read through all of them. So in terms of the process, I just suggest that we be patient. I know obviously we're like, this is an exciting time in terms of placements, but I think with the volume and like the volume from the employer side as well as shortlist side, like you will be, it may take some lag, but people will be reaching out in terms of once you have been shortlisted and reached the shortlist page and you see yourself like on shortlist, you can track your progress, right, Gladys, and where you are with an application. From there, just have patience. If you're in like client, like if you have been shortlisted through that platform, like eventually the companies will be reaching out to you. We're working on it. Yes. Also, I know if your hand is raised, I don't know if you're able to speak, so I suggest just type your question in the chat. Cool. Does anyone else have any other questions? Do you also hire individuals in Somalia? Yes, we do. Great. Any more questions? So all our communication shall be through localized or no, so their localized is basically like a host platform, but everything will be coming through Shortlist. So you'll be able to see it on our talent gallery. Everything that is on localized also has a direct link to Shortlist page. So don't worry. Yes, your applications that you did through BowWow, we have the CVs, but we have them in like PDF version. So that's why if you want to update your CVs, you can just create profiles on Talent Gallery, which is our platform, and Gladys shared it. I'll just copy again so you can have it at the bottom and you can update it. Sorry, that was the wrong link. Cool. The question is, do we hire from Nigeria? Yes, we're hiring from Nigeria for remote roles. For remote roles, we're not looking at individuals only in East Africa. The training materials will be shared as well. Arthur, if you can share your question again, I don't know what your question is. Oh, if it's a paid program, yeah, there will be a small stipend for, like a monthly stipend for this, for the roles. So I guess that, I hope that answers your question. For WhatsApp group, ideally, no, we have a community that, and once you join ACCN, we'll invite you to it. You can chat amongst our like community, which is going to be on localized as well. I think it'll be easier and more professional. Cool. All right. Well, I think that is it for the session. Thank you all for joining. We appreciate it. And yeah, in case of any other questions, kindly reach out to, actually, maybe I can share the email for our programs. Please take note of this email. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us there. We'll be sharing all of this on we'll share the YouTube link and the content on through email, so you'll receive it. But please take note of that email and you can reach out to us there. Cool. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time, and we look forward to having you part of the Scholar program as well as joining future sessions. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us, and have a great day. Thanks all. Bye.